Hello and welcome. My name is Patrick Clore, and I'm the head of customer insights here at GiveSmart by Community Brands. And we are thrilled to have each and every one of you here with us today. Today's a special day. It's actually episode 20, which is crazy in every positive way, in our Outside the Room Fundraising Success Series, where we bring the successes of your peers in the fundraising world front and center. Our sole hope in doing so is to encourage and inspire each other to continue innovating and expanding our toolkits by examining those who've done it so well. And during today's episode, we are thrilled to showcase Camp One Step, based out of Chicago, Illinois. And joining us today is their development manager, Paige Galassini. Paige, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me. Very excited.
Me too. And we are also joined by our very own talented community manager, Susanna Crawford. Susanna, thanks to you for being here as well.
Happy to. Thanks for having me.
And to stretch our legs a bit here, we're going to start out with a poll that we've been doing for the past couple of weeks to get some trend lines on how folks are feeling. So as it pertains to your 2021 fundraising goals, how are you and your organization feeling? Sticking with what you've always done, expanding with new campaigns that you've solidified, on the search for new ideas, or just kind of head spinning, feeling uncertain? And while folks are weighing in, Paige, at a high level, could you share with us a little bit more about the mission of Camp One Step and your role there?
Yeah, of course. As you mentioned, I'm the development manager, so I oversee and manage our events, whether they're internal or third party. We also have a young professionals group that I manage. So, and as we all know in the development world, we all do a little bit of everything. So it's always a fun day in the office. But Camp One Step provides free programs for kids with cancer and their families to bring them joy, happiness, and support. We offer 11 programs ranging from a traditional summer camp to a dude ranch program in Wisconsin where kids ride horses and spend the week living on a ranch. So in 2020, we were very fortunate to be able to host all 10 of our programs despite the pandemic. We did 9 of them virtually. One of them was in January before COVID-19, and we were able to serve 833 campers, which aligns with a typical year for us. So I'm very fortunate that we've been able to still provide our mission and support our camper community.
That is awesome to hear, and that is 833 amazing stories, and we're glad to hear it. And we'll bring up the poll results here. So Susanna, I know you spend a lot of time talking with customers and kind of seeing different trends. So how does this resonate with you?
Yeah, sure. So this is pretty typical to what we're seeing, a lot of looking for new opportunities, new ideas, and especially for those feeling uncertain. We're so glad to have every one of you here today, and hopefully you guys feel with some really tangible tips and takeaways.
Oh, this is going to be fun. And we've got an action-packed agenda for everybody here today. So we're going to really try and cover 2 specific areas to offer some ideas and hopefully inspiration for all of you, regardless of where you're located, size, anything like that. So we're going to start with how Camp One Step got creative to stick out on arguably the most competitive fundraising day, Giving Tuesday. And then we are going to take flight on their signature gala, which they were able to do in a hybrid fashion. And then we will also be taking questions and answers throughout the conversation, but have allocated time at the end with both Paige and Susanna. So please, you'll see through the chat, you can send in questions. Do so early and often, there's no limits. So send in as many as you can think of. And to preemptively answer the first question that we always get, we will be sending out a full recording of today's call, as well as any materials that we do cover. So if you have to jump off for another meeting or something like that, don't worry, as we will make sure to get this information out to you. And also, as we mentioned, today is episode 20 in our series. And since so many of you, such as Paige, have given up your time to share the love and give ideas to others, we wanted to mark the occasion by doing the same thing and are offering a promo for everyone listening today live, or if you're catching a recording down the road, and are offering 1 free month on a new agreement with GiveSmart. So 12 months for the price of 11. So we're putting a link into the chat that if you click on it, a team member will get in touch to get things started and make sure that you have all the right information. And we appreciate all of you listening and sharing these ideas. So we're excited to give a little bit in that regard as well. And now that we are in a giving mood, Susanna, can you start us off with how Camp One Step really separated themselves from the crowd as it pertains to Giving Tuesday?
Yeah, sure. And I have to start by saying how we connected with Paige and Camp One Step originally. As we were looking at, after Giving Tuesday and looking at the data that came in across all GiveSmart customers, Page rose to the top. They really did stand out across everyone. So we knew we had to book them right away for an outside the room episode. So with that, we will jump in. And so Paige, at a high level, can you just tell us about this campaign and kind of what we are seeing here?
Yeah, of course. So Giving Tuesday kicks off our month-long holiday appeal, actually. So on this slide, you're seeing some of our themes. We always kind of pick a theme and run with it for Giving Tuesday and then all of December. And Camp is Where the Heart Is just resonated with us this year, as we've been saying. Camp is with you in your heart wherever you are, no matter in person, virtual, whatever it is. And so then we also utilized that heart there with our logo element in the center is a drawing by a camper. So keeping it really mission centric. But this campaign includes a direct mail piece. We do e-blast and a lot of social media activity. So you're seeing some of our social media pieces here on this slide. And traditionally, we offer a match on Giving Tuesday. And every year we try to think of a fun way to announce that match. So the video you see on the left side is actually the donor telling our campers about the match, and their raw reaction is how we told the rest of our community that this match was available on Giving Tuesday. So we're always looking to get creative on this day and have some fun with it with our team as well.
Yes, perfect. I love that you did a video with your matching donor. I think that's just automatically a brilliant takeaway. And here on this slide, we're seeing more from your social media that you mentioned. So before we dive in, just kind of framing it, can you talk a little bit about what your community looks like? Who's involved in that, and how are they involved within your campaign?
Yeah, of course. So we have a small team that is actually our team right there on the slide. There's 9 of us. So really, this is one of our efforts, our fundraising efforts that we all play a role in, especially our development team, of course. So we sit down and have meetings and brainstorm and all of that. But one of the biggest things we do is empowering our camper families through this experience. So we ask them to be social media ambassadors for us. And while we're a small team, we have a big community of camper families, as I mentioned, that 833 campers. And then we have over 400 volunteers that help make our programs happen each and every year. So like I said, small team here, but a lot of people involved in our community. And so we do really like to utilize them on this day and have some fun with it. And they love social media as well. So it works out really nicely.
Yeah, I love that. And, that is a lot of volunteers, but I think what's even more special is like how you utilize them and what you did. So can you talk a little bit about the enablement materials that you sent out for people to pump this up on Giving Tuesday?
Yeah, of course. So as I mentioned, we had social media ambassadors. So we always ask some camper families, and we pick families from different areas. We try to go Illinois, Wisconsin, and different ages and all of that to post for us on Giving Tuesday and to help, announce that this match is happening and share our story. So we send them a care package a couple of days before, and we provide them with some social media tips, and we share what the hashtag should be. We give them the Giving Tuesday logo, we give them our logo, anything they might need. And then we did this year, which was new, we did photo props. So we had campers posting with these awesome little camp themed photo props, and it really encouraged them to take photos. In the past, we've given out t-shirts specifically that go with the theme of Giving Tuesday. Of course, all of our campers always love to get a little swag, so that never hurts. And then we did some personalized templates on for social media so that they could just kind of pop in their camp photo into something that we create and make super easy for them. We're also lucky that they love creating stuff on social media and are probably better at it than we are half the time. So they take it upon themselves to do a lot of that as well.
That's fantastic. So many good takeaways there. And speaking of them taking it on themselves, you mentioned how some of your volunteers had even kind of created a side campaign spinning off of your campaign. Can you talk about what that looked like?
Yeah, of course. Our volunteers are truly amazing and always looking to help and support camp. And so they did something really unique this year where they created, I believe it was through Canva, which is a design program that I highly recommend you check out if you aren't familiar with it. But they created a story for Instagram that had different bubbles like $1, $5, $25, $50. And we're asking friends and family to make a donation. They said, you can Venmo me and I'll submit the donation for you. And as the donation came in, they would then tag that bubble and kind of cross it off. And it was a great way to really leverage those smaller gifts that come in from Giving Tuesday and have a lot of new first-time donors and make people feel comfortable giving that $5 gift. And making sure they felt good about it and got to still be involved in this special day. So, and it also gets the word out about Giving Tuesday, because surprisingly, I find that while in my world, I feel like everyone knows about Giving Tuesday, some people are still really unfamiliar with it.
That is awesome. And I know for anybody who isn't familiar, in the chat, we're putting in a link to Canva, which is the free tool the Paige just mentioned. But I think, you know, what's awesome about everything you just said, Paige, is really with a small team, how can you accomplish a lot amount of work? And I think you guys did an amazing job of kind of turning these folks into force multipliers, so to say, and kind of using that from an exponential reach. And I think in particular, the spending a lot of time on our social media and looking at different things for other organizations. The one screenshot where you have in text We Heart Camp, which in our system is a keyword to that, and just making those, you know, as much as we can recommend to folks. I mean, whether it's through Instagram or any of your other social platforms, doing that out, because it's simple, but how can you make it easy? And so I think sometimes it's the littlest thing that makes a big difference. So I wanted to make sure that we called that out as well. Susan, I'll toss it back over to you here.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. Those were really great points. And something else, Paige, that you had on your your Giving Tuesday Give Smart homepage. One, you allowed people to make a monthly gift. And not only that, but you had this graphic image here, right? Talking about your monthly giving program. Could you tell us a little bit more detail on where you guys are at with this and what this looks like for Camp One Step?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Campfire Circle is actually our new monthly giving program. As we're headed into 2021, we wanted to increase individual giving. We know that that is an area that's been hit hard through COVID. And so we thought, what better way than encouraging people to kind of set aside that $25 a month or $10 a month. So we utilized Giving Tuesday to be a soft launch for this. We had this graphic on our Give Smart homepage, and then that was really it. It was there and present. And then just recently, we actually did the official launch with it. So it's been a great new program, and we've seen an awesome response to it so far. And not only does it really allow people to give in a different way for us, but it allows us to connect closer with donors as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I know we kind of talked about this before, but for someone who's maybe interested in doing something like this, can you talk a little bit about the work that it takes in the background and then kind of the rewards that come from it? You touched on it a little bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I told this story to Susanna, and I'll share it with everyone here today. So I'm not gonna lie, there is definitely additional work that comes along with adding something like this. And as you can see, there are different benefits that we've offered to our Campfire Circle members. One of those is an exclusive token of appreciation, which is our Camp Friendship bracelet. And we've decided to make them for our new monthly donors. Well, the friendship bracelets are not super simple to make. And so my colleague actually had like bright red fingers the other day from putting the beads on these. We use like these little fish hook things for the bracelets. And so it was definitely an experience and a little bit of a learning experience. But really at the end of the day, as Susanna touched on, it's so beneficial to get to have these donors that might not understand the significance or the impact of a gift that's $10 or $25 a month, but it gives us an opportunity to continue to connect with them and in a more regular sense. So for instance, we're doing quarterly updates for our Campfire Circle members. So while it might be a little bit of extra work to put together a newsletter or an e-blast to go out to them and for it to be really exclusive and special for them, it also benefits us to be keeping our donors in the loop and making them feel extra connected to Camp One Step.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something you're really good at. And before we move into Flight, the hybrid event, we did have one question come in around your social media, so I'll ask it here. Do you guys do any monitoring of the content if it's, doesn't fit your brand or anything? How do you make sure that it fits what you need it to? How do you monitor that?
Yeah, great question. And I should have mentioned this earlier. So we have someone on our team, Colleen is dedicated to social media. She's our social media manager and she's incredible at everything she does. So having that team member that is there to monitor it, because it's absolutely a full-time job, especially on Giving Tuesday. There's a ton of activity going on. We're definitely on Giving Tuesday that account with the tiny little dots at the top of our stories because there's so many things being posted. But with branding wise, what we do is if something is posted that doesn't necessarily fall in our branding or we don't approve of it, it won't get reshared by the organization. But we also provide them some templates that we create through Canva so that it is in line with our branding.
Sure. Provide it to them. That makes a lot of sense.
Yep. So we'll send them like the border for an image or something like that. If the picture or something isn't in our branding, but it's still approved, we'll usually share it.
That is awesome, and I think great advice. And as we kind of transition topics here and go from more online fundraising, I think if pivot was the main word of 2020, I think the hottest buzzword that we're hearing in fundraising so far in 2021 is hybrid and hybrid fundraising, and trying to address multiple audiences at once. So Susanna, our boarding passes are all ready to go. So can you help us here take flight and talk through what Paige and her team did for this event?
Yes, absolutely. And Paige, I'll just really gonna throw it over to you. Can you start by just going through what the pivot looked like this year, and then what are the features and kind of different things that you had going on within your flight event?
Yeah, of course. So obviously when you first realize that you have to go virtual, it's a little bit of a scary thought. We were lucky our event was in November, so we'd watched a lot of organizations already make this transition, and we did utilize these community members to tap on them and say, okay, how did you do it and how did it go for you and all of that. So I think the first thing is seeing what other people are doing for fundraisers and in our world. So but for us specifically, we knew that we needed to do something, just like we had been doing with our programs. There was no option of just kind of canceling. It's of course a big fundraiser for us. And so we decided that the most important thing for us was going to be to make this event about our campers and about our pivot and about our mission. So we use this as an opportunity to really update our whole community and donor base about what we've been doing these past months to take our programs virtual. And we also asked our community, we sold tables. So I think we'll talk about that more on the next slide, but we still sold tables, and we asked people to have at-home parties, and then we still offered a raffle and an auction, which is super easy to do, of course, through GiveSmart, and we utilized the new feature of Champions. So we really had some fun with planning this and making it pretty unique, and we did have people telling us after the event that they actually preferred doing it from home, so that was something interesting to hear as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll dive into each of these features as we go down, as you mentioned. But before we do, can you just tell us a little bit about this chart that we're seeing here and some of the results that flight brought to Camp One Step?
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting. There's not really a clear, like, this many people attended the event, just like in the past, because we did open our event up for free to anyone that wanted to view it. So we have a couple different ways we looked at the numbers. The first line registered would be anyone that let us know that they were going to be attending, purchased a ticket, or was attending as a table. So those are by individuals. Registered on GiveSmart, that's just kind of that number that comes up on your home screen. It was very apples to apples that way from the previous year. So we want to include that. We sold actually more tables this year than in the past. And then individual tickets, we were very closely lined. And then views, of course, is one of the most exciting parts with a virtual event. You, of course, widen your reach. And so we had over 850 people view our program, which doesn't include the small groups that were together in homes. So we know that number is actually probably significantly higher than that.
Incredible. It's really exciting stuff. And here we'll kind of talk about your different audiences that you catered to. And in between that, what we're saying is you had 3 different ticket types. So you had 3 different experiences kind of going on. So to start, can you just define each of these kind of tickets and who the audiences were that you were really attracting or that ended up with that type of ticket type?
Yeah, of course. So one of the things that I had noticed with virtual events leading up to our event was that you might put it on the calendar, but really getting someone to commit to it and really watch it is a little more difficult. So we talked about that we wanted to not only have people watching the event just kind of comfy from their couch, but wanted to make it an experience and wanted them to save the date in a very real way versus kind of throw it on the calendar, and if I'm available, I'll tune in, and or maybe I'll watch it later or something like that. So we had to build this experience around the evening, which is really where the host a table and the purchase your ticket come into play. So host a table, we started by going to our board members and our past table purchasers and saying, hey, here's what we're doing. You can host 6 to 12 friends in your home, and we're going to provide everything you need to make it a party and make it really fun and special. And all we ask is that at 7 p.m. you play the program and you watch this. So I'll dive into more of the breakdowns and details of the tables on the next slide. But also with the ticket, we also want to give an opportunity for individuals to get involved. We knew that kind of everyone's comfort level of leaving their home or being with small groups was different at this time, as it still is. And so we needed to give some type of option for people to buy into the event. And we just felt like when you put money behind something, you're more likely to truly tune in and be a part of that. And with that, one of the things that was included in that $150 ticket was a $40 Grubhub dining credit. And that dining credit could only be used the day of the event. So that also encouraged people to get their dinner and turn on the program and be a part of the evening. So that worked out really nicely as well. And then with courtesy viewing, one of the benefits of virtual is getting to reach more people. And so we didn't want to limit who could join us. We were excited because also courtesy viewing led to a lot more camper families being involved than ever before. Just being able to watch it from their home made a difference. And so again, we didn't want to limit people to come on because we know that if people were going to view the program, it was likely that they'd make a donation at some point in the evening or participate in the auction or just learn about the organization.
Sure, yeah, I think you make some really good points on the benefits of each of these types. And I think a lot of organizations out there, write us in the chat if this is true, but kind of in between, do we make it complimentary only or do we make it a ticket purchase only? So I appreciate the fact that you did both and you saw, different audiences chose different types. And speaking of different audiences, here is the breakdown of the tables that you offered. And so you said you had 18 this year parties going on, and within that you had 3 different levels. So can you break down a little bit of these levels, and then also you working with a partner, what does that relationship look like in putting these on?
Yeah, of course. So when we had our in-person event, we offered a first class table and a business class table. And of course, the first class table had just some extra perks or benefits. And so we kind of wanted to follow that same system and layout with our virtual event. And then we added that signature for 6 because, again, people's comfort levels were different. Homes are different, so not everyone can have 12 people for a seated dinner. And that's where that signature for 6 level came in. But then with each of these levels, we just tried to make them very exciting and special, and a great night at home with celebrating Camp One Step and our campers and our community. So what we did, as Susanna mentioned, we worked with some partners. As you can see the name on there, Chef Rich. He was amazing in getting these very elegant special dinners to our guests. And then we also worked with a company that helped put on a guided whiskey tasting, and they supported us with having a specialty cocktail. So they made a cocktail called the Jungle Bird, and they actually got the mix ready for us and labeled it super cute. And so everything just turned out looking really fun, exciting, and nice. We also gave them a favor box with a bunch of props, like for having a party, like a backdrop for pictures, and again, photo booth props, and special cookies with our logo on them. I think the list goes on and on. So, but there was a lot of very exciting, fun things for people to look forward to for the night.
Yeah, absolutely. And going through your story, I mean, some of the things that I've only seen with what you guys are doing is, you had staff go and manage the setup, serving, and cleanup, right? A concierge team to support the planning and preparation, so doing like the Canva branding and such for your people. That's just amazing. And I'm curious, you have it here like that there was 8 available and now there's 1, right? And you have those slashes. So I'm curious, like, did the logistics come into play with how many are available, or kind of why limit tables?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's both. I mean, logistics for sure. So, we talked to Chef Rich early on and said, what can you take on? What's your capacity for each of these dinners? And also it increases the value in a way and the urgency for people to lock in their table, really. So it started with just logistics wise. And at the time we were really thinking about just, okay, what is Chef Rich's capacity with cooking these meals? In the end, one of our takeaways and learning experiences was just delivery was a huge responsibility and undertaking. So it was definitely important that we limited them. One thing that was interesting with these tables also is, in the past, I mentioned those first class and business class level tables. And for our in-person event, we sold only 1 first class table and the rest were business class tables, so the lower level. Our in-person event business class table is less than this luxury amount table. So it was very interesting to see a lot of those same people that at the in-person event buy a business class table were now buying the higher level table for the at-home experience. And the learning piece from that is the benefits of this level were worth it to them. So when we eventually do get to go back to in-person, it's a great takeaway to realize, okay, how can we make the first class table a little more exciting and interesting for future?
Yeah, that is great. And I think taking what some of the lessons learned from, from a hybrid, from a virtual approach, applying that and making it the best for both worlds, I think is a great thing. And Paige, we've had a few questions come in around kind of some of the stuff you've mentioned here with sponsors. So I think the most common theme of all of them is really, what advice or encouragement do you have for folks listening who might be working with new vendors, or trying to figure out how can they kind of convince vendors, for lack of a better phrase, about donating some services such as what you guys had through your partners, if they're a little bit skeptical and maybe doing it for the first time even?
Yeah, of course. I think, we go on the philosophy of just we definitely are appreciative of donations and happily accept as they're able to do that. But with it being such a hard year, we were cautious of kind of asking for too much. And so there was some give and take here for sure. I think people talk about virtual events being a lot less expensive and you kind of save there. But this event, as you can see, clearly had a significant expense to it still. I mean, it wasn't anything like an in-person event, but we definitely put some money into making this happen. So I think when you're working with vendors and if they are donating product or something for you, just being really clear with them on deadlines and expectations. Sometimes when you're getting things donated, the timeline feels more in their hands than in your hands, and that can be a scary thing when you have 18 boxes of things to pack up and ship out to people. So just really staying on top of the communication.
I think that is fantastic advice.
Yeah, really helpful. And so here we're talking again about hybrid events, and you had people doing it virtually, you had people doing individual stuff, and then you had this in-person experience, right? Whether that's small groups in one large room, but yours particularly in small groups. So curious, you had 18 parties, and can you tell us a little bit about the stuff that we are seeing in this photos? So specifically like the drink setup and the virtual bingo?
Yeah, of course. Well, I'll start by saying I love this slide because it shows how our table hosts took everything to the next level. So while we provided a lot of these things, they did all these setups, and the table you see with all those delicious treats and those beautiful flowers, they did all of that on their own. That balloon backdrop, they did. So really, people took this and ran with it, which was awesome and so fun to get these pictures as they were coming in. But with that drink setup, so that one is the Jungle Bird. That's the cocktail. So it has the mixes and then some cherries and then the liquor that is part of that. And they even provided us in that bowl, you can see like the green pineapple leaves. I don't know the technical name for those, but it was a garnish for the drink. So they provided all of that with then these glasses to use for the cocktail and the shakers and everything. So it made it really fun and exciting to be a part of. Flight virtual bingo, this is something we'd kind of been posting on social media and playing around with our campers for different things throughout the year. And so we decided to carry it over to this event. I'm trying to think back to what was really listed on there, but it went along with the 1 hour program that it was really the feature of the evening. And so a lot of people put it at the table to play while they were watching the program. And it just was asked things like, if you're smiling while you're watching this, or you shed a tear listening to the camper speaker. So we just tried to have some fun with it. If you get up and dance during the band. So just every little thing that could, again, make it a special evening and bring camp into their home.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I'm digging in here a little more on that. And curious, mixing, different audiences and having this whole virtual, side, and then also this in-person side. Do you have any tips or takeaways that you learned when kind of creating, multiple experiences and putting those together? Any tips or anything learned there?
Yeah, so if you think back to kind of the different levels, if someone was choosing to do courtesy viewing, I would say we just kept letting them know that 7 o'clock is when the program's on. We sent an e-blast out right before to make sure people knew where to click and how to get in to watch it. And that was the focus there. And then we posted some fun things on social media that they could or could not do from home. And then with the in-person parties, that's where a lot of our focus was. So as you talked about, we had that concierge team that was they were able to email or call at any time to support them. But we did have to think a lot about the timing of the evening with dinner being delivered and then expecting people to watch a 1 hour program. Are they sitting at the table? Are they sitting on couches? What does that all look like? And so ahead of the actual evening of flight, we spoke to each table host and sort of planned that out with them with their timeline, and also reminding them, hey, make sure you're watching this on a TV and you're not 12 people surrounded around a little computer screen. So I think it comes down to making sure you're communicating with each of those table hosts if you're going to take something like this on.
Sure. Yeah, that's really great advice. Thanks. We'll keep it moving here into your program. And you talked a little bit about what the importance of, when you're creating that program, but tell us what we are seeing on this screen. And then what were the things that you really tried to get into this program? And was there anything that was in your in-person event that you kind of, held back on so you could fit other stuff in?
Yeah, so it came back down to just kind of, if you were in the audience of an event, what are your favorite parts of an in-person program? And for me, that's always when kind of the beneficiary of the organization is speaking, or you're really hearing the stories and understanding the mission. So we made that the main focus of the evening. And the way that we did that first was having campers for the first time ever host the event. It was so fun to get to work with these campers. They were amazing. And as you can tell, there are older campers, so we weren't asking the little ones to take on this responsibility, but it made for a lot of fun social media engagement. As you can see on the right, that we did a video starting with, Ryan as a little kid, and it's some TikTok trend, but he kind of morphed into as he got a little older, as he went through his cancer journey until now, and he was all dressed up for flight with his suit on. So we did the same thing for Maggie, our other camper. And then you can see on the right how everyone was commenting and engaging with it and getting very excited to see our campers shine in this role. And we love giving them these experiences of leadership. What we did less of in the program was we shortened our honoree speeches and their acceptances of their awards. We still did a little clip from them, but then we did more information from them on the full flight website page. We just wanted the program to be moving very quickly and keeping people engaged. It's hard enough when you're in a ballroom to kind of keep people's attention. And so if you think of people in their home and potentially with a couple of their friends, we needed to make it very engaging to capture their attention. And by having campers hosted, and then we had a camper speech, a parent speech, we had campers do a song, we had a camper do a piece of artwork. So all these really exciting things that we're telling our story and really showing our mission were what made up our program.
I love that, Paige. Every time I talk to you, all of our conversations stem back to your mission and your programs. And that's something I just really enjoy about what you've been able to do and put on and how you approach this. And let's go into the production a little bit of it, right? I know there's a lot of questions out there around production. So if we don't get to yours, make sure to put them in the chat. But overall, you worked with a production company and you had majority pre-recorded, right, that you did in advance, and then you had a live big ask moment. So can you walk us through what it was like to work with a production company and kind of that relationship and what this really looked like as a timeline?
Yeah, so we've been working with an event planner that we're lucky enough has, donated her time to support us these last couple of years, and she has a business in Chicago, and so she then connected us with the production company Black Oak, and they were amazing to work with. They presented us a couple templates of how the program could run, and then what we ended up doing is really taking their concepts and merging it into one, and then starting with some 5-minute segment ideas and building out a script and a program for this evening. And we wanted it to stay around 45 minutes to an hour. And we, as Susanna mentioned, did a lot of it pre-recorded. So all of the sections with our camper host were pre-recorded. And then we did just kind of drop in a lot of additional videos. And then the last part was the live segment of when we did the big ask, which was essentially a paddle raise. And again, the company was great to work with. They were very supportive, and one of the main things we heard after our event was, wow, the production quality was so great. It just really looked so professional. And I think that also goes back to keeping people engaged, because if the tech isn't working or you're having issues or it's blurry and you can't hear people, you're going to lose people very quickly in an online environment.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate to have to invest in this production support.
Awesome. I think that's really valuable feedback. And you just mentioned your big ask, right? It was live. It was the live part, and you can see it here in that recording studio that we just saw. So talk to us about how you did a live ask, and then also, who are these dogs? Tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, so to do the live ask, it was obviously a little nerve-wracking going into it, but we, we have an awesome board member and sports radio host, Dan here, who led the charge, and he's amazing at what he does, so we were confident he could handle this. But how we went about it was, we asked people, for the first time, we really asked people to make their donations ahead of the evening. And we got as much money as we could in ahead of this program airing. And so our team actually put on big, like, post-it paper, $1,000. Then we listed all the names out on this paper. And we had that behind the cameras. And when we got to the live section, we did a paddle raise as you kind of normally would. Dan introduced the level, the donation amount, and then we actually, to buy us some time, we did a clip from a camper of saying what that donation means to them. So our donation levels usually transfer into how many kids can be sent to camp. So for example, $10,000 can send 10 kids to camp. And one of our campers then said, sending 10 kids to camp means X, Y, and Z, and talks about their experience a little bit. And then the screen would flash back to Dan, and he would start thanking people live. But really, it felt live to our viewers, but really he was reading the names from the paper that we had already pre-written them on. And then as that's going on, another team member is refreshing the GiveSmart page to see any new donations that come in and adding them to the paper. We did it to the best of our ability, and I'll be honest, it was not completely perfect, but it was the right way to do it, live versus pre-recorded, because we were able to create a couple special moments, and I'll give one example. We had a donor, actually, we call her Nana, and she's on the left there. She's super sweet, and she made a really generous donation during the program, and we were able to catch it live and actually write it on a big piece of paper and cue Dan to give her a special thank you. And his special shout out thank you to her made a huge difference, and actually ended up having her put in another donation, which was just so sweet. And we're only able to do that because the program was live. So it was absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
And then the dogs, that's something special we do.
Exactly, the dogs.
Yes, of course, everyone needs to know about the dogs. So that's something special we have been doing at our InPerson program for many years. As people make a donation during the paddle race, they get one of these little puppies. And it just has become really special to our flight community. And the animal always has to do with our theme of the evening. So this year we focused on our virtual programs, and the concept was bringing camp home. And when we thought about our kids and our campers and what virtual programs meant to them and the experience they were having, we noticed that one of their favorite things to do in our virtual programs is show their pets, especially their dogs. So that's how we came up with the dog for this year. And again, as people make a donation, they receive this stuffed animal. A lot of people get really excited and bring them home to their kids or their grandkids, and they definitely can't miss a year of getting the stuffed animal.
I love it. And you mentioned, we don't have time to super dive in, but you mentioned earlier that you did the Champions peer-to-peer feature in advance. And so it was a big part of the dogs is being able to get those donations in advance and send out the dogs to everyone. So you sent me all these pictures with like dogs on at home, at the parties, on the tables, of the people who donated already sitting at their seat for dinner. And I just wanted to point that out because I think that is so special to be able to get this out in advance and people to be able to hold their dog during that moment and connect it to you again. And we will end on this slide talking about silent auction. We would be remiss if we didn't. So can you tell us a little bit about, we always get the question, how do you pick silent auction items? And I know your event was in November, so you really had to do this during, everything was going on. So talk a little bit about the work that you did to plan for this silent auction, and then as well as what we're seeing here on how you promoted it.
Yeah, of course. So we actually enlisted our committee members to, actually one committee member in particular that did a deep dive analysis of our auction from 2019. And then he went through that list and said, yes, this performed well, but it's not a COVID friendly item. We're not going to include it. So we did this really deep dive and looking at what we've had in the past and then coming up with a fresh wish list of some items that would be great 2020 items. And we also, we talked to our donors and we kind of asked them what they were looking to see. And we knew that one of the biggest things was golf. So we definitely did a big focus on that. So the auction ended up really successful, and we had, a great time putting it together, and we didn't even have any sports tickets on it, which of course is usually a big ticket item, but we were surprised to really see how well it did, and just had fun promoting it on social media and through e-blasts and highlighting some items throughout.
Yeah, and I'll throw this in too. Today I got asked about like a, like a paper digital catalog for silent auction items. I got asked for a creative way for that today. So can you just talk very quickly about that Instagram post and kind of how you created a catalog in a little bit of a digital way?
Yeah, so we just showed some specific items through, if you swiped, you could see like the picture of the item and then, what the first bid was or the bid increment, and just put some information on each slide of specific items. And we just called out some ones that we know either were past favorites or something new this year that was really exciting. So I think just giving some special recognition to certain items can make a big difference, because if it catches someone's eye, then they're going to go look at the rest of the auction.
Awesome.
I think that is awesome advice, and I know we've had a lot of questions that we are going to get to. Some of them we've already covered, but kind of get Paige and Susanna a chance to catch their breath, highlighting some upcoming webinars that we have on the screen. In particular, wanted to call out the one that will be on March 10th, talking about the PPP loans that our sister company MIP is going to be doing. So we'll be putting the links for all of these in the chat. As a reminder, similar to today's call, if you sign up and register, that's how you guarantee you will get a recording of the call. So always good just to get on the list. And with that, I will channel my inner auctioneer here with a few questions. Paige, the first question we had in is about promotions. And how far in advance do you usually start promoting a campaign? In particular, as we looked at the Giving Tuesday and the flight, do you use the same timeline, or is it something different?
Yes, I think it's different for campaigns and events. Flight was a little later probably than I would typically do it, because we were just in a decision mode of kind of how we are going to move forward. But we had a good couple of months to start promoting it, and I think that's pretty typical with events. And I think the more time you have to really have those, call past table host and have really personal conversations, the more success you're going to see. With our Giving Tuesday campaign, I think Giving Tuesday is something that just everyone knows is coming, right? So we do a couple of e-blasts leading up to it, letting people know it's coming, but we hold off on announcing the match. We tease it, but we don't tell people specifically that there's a match until the day of Giving Tuesday. And we typically start a lot of our promotion through social media and then follow it up with the e-blast.
Perfect. That is awesome. And the last question I think encompasses a lot of ones. As you evaluate how the flight event went for you and the organization, and you guys had time to build up, do you feel, hey, this went great, we have a list of things we'd like to do different? How do you really feel that things went overall, whether that's from a finance standpoint, engagement, just across the board?
We could not have been happier. I think our eyes were like bug-eyed when we left the production studio. We could not believe how amazing and how our supporters stepped up and just did, everything to make the evening really special. I mean, the fact that 18 groups hosted parties in their home, even as much as we tried to do to make it easy for them, you could see from those pictures that they all went above and beyond. So we were just so grateful to our community for everything they did to join us in making this a really special event. We raised a record-breaking amount for Flight, which was just amazing. Again, amazing to see and very fun. And it shows that, your supporters are out there, they're familiar with these events and they want to support you. So just make sure you're giving them the opportunity to do so and letting them know what's going on with your organization and keeping them up to date on everything you can, because I think that's what makes the difference.
No, I think that's perfectly stated. And I know we kind of talked about this with the silent auction, and you do some great things analyzing the data and making it work for you. So I'm curious, what are your plans for this year based on the learnings from Giving Tuesday, from the flight event, and really how has that influenced your planning for the year ahead?
Yeah, so with Flight, we are still in the planning stages of figuring out if we're going to do it, in person or hybrid, or how that's going to look. Because if in person is going to be at a venue or in people's homes, what that's exactly going to look like, we're unsure. But we're very reassured by the idea that not only has our virtual events been very successful, but our virtual programs have. And each one we learn some things and pick up some new tricks and tips. And so we will absolutely be having Flight this year, and we're very excited for it, because either way we're going to get to build on what we did last year or mix things up a little bit. But I do think this has given us an opportunity to be really creative in our fundraising and think a little bit more outside the box.
That is awesome. That's as we talk about outside the rim, thinking outside the box is a great approach. And I know time flew here. We put the link back into the chat. We want all of you to be able to take advantage of the system and the way that Paige and her team did. So please take advantage of the offer. Once again, it's 12 months for the price of 11 off your next contract with GiveSmart. And with that, you will also see, once we wrap, a quick survey. We base today's content based largely on feedback from organizations throughout the country over the past few weeks. So please take a moment to fill out the survey so we can cater the future conversations around your needs. Paige, thank you so much for joining us today, sharing your story, and again, congratulations on the awesome things you guys did last year.
Thank you so much, Patrick and Susanna. We could not do anything we do without GiveSmart. I truly mean that. So thank you for all of your support.
No, absolutely. Susanna, she said it perfectly. Thanks for joining us, sharing us your insights and wisdom as always.
Yeah, can't top that. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Paige. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Lastly, thanks to all of you for joining us here today. I speak for everybody at the company when I say we are in your corner, so please don't hesitate to reach out, and we know you too can emulate the success of Camp One Step. Thanks for joining, and have a great rest of the day, everybody.